Economists who study the issue of college education in the U.S. are confident about two facts. One is the amount of student loan debt skyrocketing in the last 15 years or so. The second is that on average, college graduates make a lot more money than people who don't graduate from college. It's known as a college wage premium. But these trends and a number of others are really only of limited use when an individual student is trying to decide whether college is worth it or not. Peter Cappelli of Wharton has just written a book that's meant as a guide in trying to answer that question. And his argument can be summarized in two words. It depends. Peter Cappelli joins me here today. All right, Peter, it depends is sort of the central theme of your book as I take it, right? Right. The college wage premium is sometimes presented as a kind of slam dunk case for why college is always worth it. You say it's actually a lot more complicated. Why is that?
Well, you can think about the college wage premium as something like global warming, what's going on in the overall economy as a whole over time. So the way you measure the college wage premium is you look at the average college graduate who's about 46 years old, and you compare it to the average high school graduate. And so these are folks who've been out of school for a very long time. And the college graduate makes more money. But the important question is why, first of all, which is a hard one to answer. And the second one is you could make more than a high school graduate and still not make enough to pay off the costs of your college loans and your college education. Because that gap, which has gotten bigger mainly because high school wages have collapsed. It's not because college graduates are making any more money now.
I was intrigued to learn in your book that a common complaint about college students these days is that they come out of college and they don't have skills that are valuable in the job market, that they're not positioning themselves while in college for the job market. Actually, you find that college students actually do chase majors that will help them get jobs, and yet that is often to their detriment. They shouldn't necessarily do that. So tell us why.
It's happening now with petroleum engineers. Job markets get hot, partly because demand is shot up. Kids in college pour into those fields, and then by the time they graduate, often the fields have already cooled off, and if they haven't, the big influx of college students cools it off for them. So they're often out of sync with the labor market because of this long time lag between picking the field and chasing the jobs when you're there and the time you ultimately get out.
Okay, so then how should we think about the role of for-profit colleges and the fact that they've captured a higher share of the overall number of college graduates in recent years, or in recent decades really, especially given your conclusion that college students shouldn't necessarily try to time the market or shouldn't necessarily try to study things that will only be useful right after college?
Yeah. For-profit colleges have a nice idea, trying to get close to employers, trying to do things that are practical. As a group, some of them are good, but a lot of them are really lousy. 12% of kids are going to these schools. They have a real problem not getting kids jobs at graduation. They seem to be able to get kids through, that is, they hang around and maybe they finish better than they might have or graduate at a higher rate than they might have at an equivalent school that's not for-profit.
They're expensive too.
And they're expensive. They have a really high loan default rate. And the kids don't get jobs when they graduate. So I would be very suspicious, particularly about marketing from these schools that is pitched to you that you will get a job like this when you graduate, right? Actually, they don't claim that. They're pretty careful about it, but they intimate it, right? And one of the real problems for parents and kids looking at this is, where do I get data to see if this college is going to give me a job or not? And unfortunately, there's none available. Colleges are not required to provide it. There's no standard way to provide it, except for MBA programs where there is.
What should policymakers be considering to try to help people make better decisions in terms of whether they should go to college, the kinds of colleges they should consider, the cost-benefit analysis, and whether or not it would be a good idea to bring back, apprenticeships in the numbers in which they used to exist, things of that nature. And so, in general, I just threw a lot at you. In general, what should policy be considering when it comes to this issue?
Yeah. So I think if I was a policymaker, I would first suggest that more information might be really helpful for people. That is, requiring colleges in a standard way to report what their graduates are doing. And are they getting jobs? And if so, what kind of jobs? In some sort of standard way would be interesting. And I think the government are already doing a bit of this, but some calculators that would let people figure out in a systematic way What's the return going to look like from this degree? What are the odds my kids will graduate? If they graduate, what are the odds they'll do it on time? How much is it going to cost? What do the jobs look like at the end? That would be kind of helpful. And I think I would tone down the rhetoric that seems to be pushing everybody to go to college as the key to a future, because it might not be. You know, one of the things we don't know enough about, but we know, though, in principle this is true, that the kids who go to college are different, more able, more resources from their family than the kids who don't. And how much of the fact that they do better later on is because they would have done better anyway, right?
Yeah.
How much of it is the real value added of college? We don't know anything about that.
Peter Cappelli, thanks very much for being here with us.
Thank you.
And the book is Will College Pay Off? You can see this video and read more about the topic at ft.com. Thanks very much.